Welcome to our online enrollment demo. Our goal is to make the enrollment process as easy as possible for our units to utilize. The version you're seeing now is not the final product, and our team is continuing to work on improvements that will eventually make this program all-encompassing for all things enrollment. At this time, units will only be able to add a new subscriber and their dependents. However, updates will occur periodically to allow for more capabilities within the program. To access the online enrollment program, you'll need to visit your unit's My LGHIB account. This is the same account that you go to view your unit's invoices and things like that. So where you'll go for new enrollment is you'll scroll down under Unit Administration and you'll select Manage New Enrollment. So this is going to bring you to the new enrollment management screen. To enroll a new subscriber, or if you have a new employee who wishes to decline coverage, you'll still need to select Add New Subscriber. So the information that needs to be completed is the same information that has to be completed on the enrollment form. Each tab will have to be reviewed and completed in order to submit the enrollment to us. So what you'll do is you'll need to complete each box that has a red asterisk by it. So I'm going to do this real quick. So for the email, we would really like to start receiving the email addresses for the employees. We will not inundate their inboxes with anything, but it will be benefit related to educate people better on our benefits and to let people know what's going on with us. Again, it's not going to be junk or anything like that. It'll be information that's pertinent or that we feel is pertinent for them to know. But if they wish to decline or they don't have an email address, they can always hit decline email and it'll be fine. For employee status, it defaults to full-time employee, but it has all of the other selections that are currently on the enrollment form. For hours per week, the person is eligible for coverage if they work more than 30 hours per week. And then hire date, it is very important that you put the exact date of hire for the person because this will correlate with when the employee is eligible for coverage. So we're date of hire, so I'm just going to say that the person started on, I'm sorry, I'm going to say 1/6 because that's today's date that I'm recording this. All right, you'll select the next button when all this information is completed. Now, let's say that you leave something out. So we're going to say we left out the social, and I'll show you what happens when you do that. So this is just like a fail-safe. So it tells you, hey, that can't be left empty. We have to have the social security number. So it's not going to let you proceed with this enrollment until we have that. And this is all test data. This is not live data. So once you have everything in there, you'll go over here and select Next. And then here's the coverage selection screen. So I want to enroll this person in our health and drug coverage. So Blue Cross and Optum Rx. Now, you can see on here, this is grayed out. This tells you that you can't change anything, the date right here, because this corresponds with what you put here. And depending on what your unit, when the coverage begins for your unit, if it's date of hire, which is what we are, or if it's first day of second month, that is going to determine what goes in here. And the only way to update this is to update what their date of hire is. That's why it's very important to have the correct date of hire. So for our units that offer Southland coverage, Southland is also, this is where you would select the Southland coverage for the employee. And I'm going to put that for this person that they want Southland Vision. You can see you can't update this either. Southland is always the first day of the second month after we receive the documentation for it. All right, now if the person does not have any dependents that they wish to have add to their coverage,
then you could just select no dependent coverage needed, and it would disable this dependents tab right here, and you would just bypass that. However, I'm going to add dependents for this member. So I have Blue Cross Optum selected, and I have Southland Vision selected, and we're going to select next. So I'm going to start adding the dependents on here. I'm going to say that this is a female spouse. Of course, the relationship to employee, this has the options that are also on the enrollment form as well. I'm going to add the female spouse to the health and drug coverage. I'm also going to add her to the Southland coverage. Now, in order to save this information, you must select Add Dependent. If you do not select Add Dependent, she will not be on there, and the dependents will not be listed. So now I'm going to select right here. I'm going to add in a child. And I also have to select Add Dependent right here. And then I have information saved, so it automatically saves everything. Of course, if you get interrupted, you can always come back and it saves everything. If you just go to Manage Enrollment, it's on the pending screen for John Test. And then you come over here to Summary. So we have the dependents in there. If you have any more dependents, of course, you keep adding them. But under Summary, you can see where we have all the information in there. We have the coverages that are selected, and we have the effective date. And then we have down here the dependent information, and it tells you that you have 60 days to provide the supporting documentation, or the request will be denied to add these dependents. So everything looks good, so we're going to go right here to Generate Enrollment Forms. And you can't see the print icon, but there is a print icon that'll pop up on this window. But this is pre-filled the information for this online enrollment form, so it has everything in there. So what you and the employee will need to do is verify that this information is accurate. And so then what you'll do is once this information is verified, you will print the form out, and it also includes the Southland form if they enrolled in Southland, as well as the definitions and required documentation sheet. This is new or fairly new, where it tells you the type of dependent that can be added, what the definition for each dependent is, as well as the documentation that's needed for each dependent. So all of this will print out, but the employee must sign and date this form, and the benefit administrator must sign and date this form for both the enrollment and for Southland. So what you'll do is you'll print these, everybody signs, and then we'll jump out of this window, we'll go back over here, and we'll go to the upload screen. So on new enrollment form, we have the enrollment, and sometimes it's a little slow. Normally it's quick, but this is also our beta site that I'm utilizing, so sometimes it's a little slower than normal. See if that works. All right, there we go. You can always view the PDF to make sure that everything is on there correctly. And we'll do that real quick so you can see. So we have it signed. We have everything signed and dated. All the information was correct. The member signed and verified that that information was correct. And then it tells us on this screen that we have to have the upload, or I'm sorry, what documentation must be uploaded in order to add these dependents. So we have to have the marriage certificate for the spouse. And I do want to back up for a minute. At a minimum, in order to submit this new enrollment, at a minimum, you have to have at least the enrollment form uploaded. I highly recommend waiting to submit this enrollment until you have all the documentation, because once you've submitted this, then it closes this enrollment out, and then you will not be able to, it locks this in essence, and you won't be able to get back in here unless we reject it. So if you submit it to go ahead and get it going, but you don't have some of the documentation, that's okay. It's not a big deal, but you will have to send that documentation either by fax or through email to the enrollments department. Another thing I want to show you real quick before I finish these is on this My Notes tab. This is what, this is strictly for you. If you, let's say, needing the marriage certificate or waiting on marriage certificate, whatever the case is, you put that in. We do not see these notes. Even when this is submitted, we don't see any notes. So this is strictly for your knowledge only. But going back over here to the Upload tab, for marriage certificate, I'm going to go ahead and select this. And then for, once again, it's going to be slow, of course. It's not normally this slow. And then for birth certificate, the same thing. We're going to go over here. And we've uploaded all of our documentation. Everything seems to be good. I highly recommend you checking that documentation, making sure you're uploading the right thing. And then once we know everything is fine, we're going to select Submit New Enrollment. So as we can see, new enrollment's been submitted. So now what we can do is we will go back over here to this work list, which is the same thing as this new enrollment, and we can see that our enrollment is no longer there. So this pending is done. So under submitted, you can see where we've submitted a few, and here is the most recent one. So we can see that this has been submitted and the date it was submitted. So all of this information, now we can't change anything. We can't modify this at all, but I want to show you where you go. It tells you a timestamp. Under that My Notes feature, it gives you the timestamp of when it was submitted and what time. So this is where you'll go if you have a completed or rejected. So you'll follow this enrollment all the way through. This is the one way, as of right now, that we're allowing for a tracking for this. So when it is completed, it'll be the same thing. You'll go back through, of course, just pretend that that was under the completed one, but it'll say completed, and it has the timestamp, who completed it, and then if it's under the rejected one, it'll be the same thing. It'll have rejected right here with the date it was rejected, the time it was rejected, who did that, and the reason why it was rejected. So it is imperative that you continue to follow through within the coming days after you submit that enrollment to see where we are in the process. Of course, if you have questions, you can always contact the enrollments department to figure out where we are with it. That number is 334-263-8326. And you can always contact them, listen for the options to determine where we are with the process. But always give us a few days to see where that process is for that enrollment. Once you get into this, I feel as though it'll be very simple for you to use. And like I said, we are going to continue making improvements to it so that it won't just be simply for adding a new subscriber or for them to decline, a new employee to decline coverage. Eventually, we will have more features on here. And when we do, we will release updates and we'll release emails letting you know that, hey, these features are now available. You can now utilize this in the online enrollment system. Again, if you have questions about any of this, contact the enrollments department, 334-263-8326. I really appreciate your time today. I appreciate you starting to utilize this program, and we look forward to hearing your feedback about it.